Welcome to the Darkstream. Vox Day, voxday.blogspot.com, and unauthorized.tv. Thanks for tuning in. It is looking like it's going to be a fascinating week this week. And I don't know about you, but I am definitely looking forward to see how things are going to proceed. This is going to be a little bit random. But first of all, Happy New Year to everyone. And 2020 was, despite being challenging, it was great. And I think that 2021 is going to be exceptional. I think it's going to be considerably better than most of us even imagine. Now, I know a lot of people are worried. A lot of people are concerned. A lot of people are afraid. But here's the thing. If you look at what's actually happened, not at the narrative, but if you look at what's actually happening, if you look at what people are actually doing, if you look at what is actually taking place, things look an awful lot better than if they do when you read the mainstream media. You know, I mean, if I had one piece of advice for every single person who, feels nervous or upset or worried or concerned, I would encourage you, just stop watching the news. Stop watching Fox. Stop watching CNN. Don't read the newspaper. Okay. Now, a lot of people are talking about this phone call that was released by the Washington Post of an hour-long call between the Georgia Secretary of State, Raffensperger, or whatever his name is, and President Trump. And I think that it's been wildly and unsurprisingly misinterpreted and misrepresented by the mainstream media, not unlike everything else about this election. So why should it surprise us? You may recall that in 2016, the release of the notorious "Grab 'em by the pussy" video was supposed to kill President Trump's chances. Now they're trying to push this whole thing about the idea that he was trying to subvert the election, trying to get them to find votes. Now, this is a really interesting turn of events, because what do SJWs always do? Yes, we know they always lie. Yes, we know that they always double down. But what else do they always do? Exactly. They always project. So, what does this tell us? Now that, for the first time in, nearly 2 months, what are they starting to do? They're starting to claim that Donald Trump is seditious. They're starting to claim that he is trying to unduly influence the election. They're trying to push this false narrative that Trump is going to steal the election. It's the classic Promethean inversion. What they're trying to do is invert the indictments that are coming against them. You're right, they did plant some of those seeds well before the election. I remember that. But for the last 2 months, they haven't really been talking about that because they didn't want to directly address the issue. But now, because they're afraid of what is coming, because they're beginning to believe that they're not going to be able to get away with it, now they are turning to their satanic inversion and trying to claim that Trump is doing what they know that they are already guilty of. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have any secret information. But what I do have the ability to do is recognize patterns. And the pattern that I recognize is that the media and the Democrats and the corrupt Republicans are behaving like people who know they've been caught. You know, all of the weird accusations and strange deal making and all of these various wild accusations and so forth, I don't see any possibility that Joe Biden is going to be president. None whatsoever. You know, I said back on November 22nd that this is going to be over in the sense of everybody understanding what is going on when Biden concedes. And now we're starting to hear rumors, they're just rumors, but we're starting to hear rumors that Biden is going to concede. We're already hearing that just like Hillary's fireworks display being canceled, now we're starting to see Biden's inaugural parade canceled. We're starting to hear more and more whispers and rumors that Biden is going to concede, that he's trying to work out a deal for a pardon, etc., etc., etc. Now, none of this is reliable. None of this is anything that you should bank upon, but one thing that you've noticed is that most of the things that we now know for a fact were early rumors as well. And the process of going from the initial rumor to the established proven fact is, again, another recognizable pattern. We're starting to hear more and more and more about that possibility, which personally I think is actually a relatively high probability. You know, Donald Trump is and has always been a negotiator. The conversation that he had with that Georgia Secretary of State was very typical of the president. He already knew the facts. He already knew the numbers. He already knew the fraud. And he was trying to persuade someone who he had busted. He was trying to persuade them to come clean. You know, he wasn't begging him to invent votes, to falsify anything. He was begging him to come clean and share what he knew. And instead, all he got was more and more lies. Exactly. T. Greeny 1 says, it's like a parent punishing their kids, giving them the chance to tell the truth. If you're a parent, you understand exactly what Trump was doing. You already know that the kid is guilty. But you need to, you want them to come clean. You want them to confess so that even though you have to punish them, that you can at least let them off a little bit easy because they confessed. But what Trump is beginning to recognize, I mean, I think he's recognized this for weeks, frankly, but what he's beginning to recognize is that these people are so caught in their web of lies, they're so trapped by their own corruption, and they're so controlled by the influence that others have over them, that they can't take the opportunity that the president is giving them. Now their time is running out. Their time is running out, and they know it. And so, when the hammer is going to drop, I don't know. Actually, that's a good point. Panderjit Singh says, they can't believe anyone could be merciful. Absolutely correct. Evil knows no mercy. Evil is not merciful. What is merciful? Love is merciful. Love is kind. There's no love from the left. And so, but Trump is not a cruel man. Trump is not, I don't think that he's a instinctive warrior. I think he's a great strategist, but he doesn't want to go for the kill if he doesn't have to. But the big mistake that people make about the merciful is they confuse mercy with weakness. But the interesting thing is that it's often the merciful who truly understand justice. Yeah, I don't react well to being told what to do. I suggest if you want things turned up that you turn up your volume. Ani says, I believe Trump will remain in office, but these psychopaths will not stop coming after them. He should not let them off easy. No, he shouldn't. Absolutely he shouldn't. But there's nothing wrong, nothing at all wrong with giving people every opportunity to come clean. Because it's going to make it easier to prove these things when people confess. And not only that, but as AC has pointed out, Anonymous Conservative, great resource. If you don't follow Anonymous Conservative, you absolutely should. But as AC has repeatedly pointed out, then what he's doing is he's making sure that everyone shows their cards. He's making sure that everyone exposes themselves. He's making sure that they are forced to activate every asset. Here's the thing. If you know you have the winning cards and you're playing poker, let's say that you know you have a royal flush. Do you lay it down at your first opportunity? Or do you attempt to get as many people to drive up the pot as high as you can? That's what Trump is doing. I understand if you're feeling impatient. I understand if you're feeling anxious. I understand if you just want him to show his cards so that you can be certain that he's going to win. But that's not how the game is played. No good gamer is going to play that way. No good strategist is going to do that just to make you feel better. He's told you that he's going to win. He's told you repeatedly. His lieutenants have told you he's going to win 100%. No doubt. And so what he's attempting to do is what I call a double envelopment. If you know about Cannae, Hannibal, the Romans, then you understand that what you have to do is you have to allow the enemy to think that it is winning long enough for them to enter the trap. Anaf Habib says the enemy's objective is to make Pelosi acting president while this farce continues past January 20th. Biden isn't getting in, so the goal then would be to violence on the street a la BLM and Antifa. I think that's totally irrelevant. I don't think, I mean, that may be their plan, but it's not going to work. And so the way that this is most likely going to play out is not something that we can know. We can't know what time or place he's going to choose to act. This is funny. Oh my gosh, this is such a QAnon cope. Trump is losing to lead them into a trap. No, he's not losing. He's obviously not losing. If you understand anything about computers, the internet, or etc., they've already proved the fraud conclusively. Trump absolutely won. The point is that he's not rounding them all up. He's allowing them to attack as much as they want. And then, probably sometime around January 20th, then he's going to have to act. This is always, Vox, this is an embarrassing moment for you. I look forward to hearing you come back on here. See, you won't. I've been doing this since 2001. I'm usually correct. Do you think that people all thought that I was really, really smart and totally on top of it when I said back in 2008, early 2008, that the housing market was going to crash and create a financial catastrophe? Everybody said, oh, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. He says, I will. No, you won't. You absolutely won't. Nobody ever does. And everybody talks brave, everybody repeats the narrative. I mean, it's not as if I don't know what Fox and CNN are saying. It's not that I don't know what the narrative is, but I know that the narrative is always false. I said that Trump was going to win in 2016 back in, 2015? I think it was February 2015 or so. And so at this point, if you don't recognize that Trump won and that there was massive election fraud that permitted the media to portray Biden as the president-elect, then you aren't really paying attention. And so you just need to be patient. These things don't happen overnight. And think about this. If you look at, I get all that, but this isn't winning. Yes, it is winning. You have no understanding of what's happening. What you need to do is just shut up, listen, and watch. There's nothing you can do. If you are running around celebrating, or if you're running around, if you're running around proclaiming that doom is nigh, it doesn't make any difference. You're not a player. I'm not a player. So the correct thing for us to do is sit back, enjoy the show, and do our best to, in my position, my job is to analyze what's happening and see if I can interpret it correctly. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Coming up for Iyer says, the big question is, did Trump anticipate the election fraud or not? Yes, he did. There's no question. If you've read that 2018 executive order, it's very clear that he did. And of course, that is why the left is so frightened, because they now realize that they are potentially in danger of losing everything. All the gains that they've made from their corruption, they're on the verge of losing it. So, now, does that mean that he's absolutely, definitely, 100% going to be successful? Of course not. There are no guarantees. Anybody can manage to lose somehow at the last minute. Trust me, I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. I know all about, people and teams losing things that they absolutely should win, things that they could have and should have won. Right? But you need to get your minds out of this binary trap. You need to stop thinking that everything is this or that. Life, the existence, the world, the universe, everything is probability. And right now, the probabilities are very, very highly stacked in favor of President Trump. Pompeo has said there's going to be a smooth transition to Trump's second term. Flynn has said 10 out of 10, Trump will be the next president. The people who know exactly what's going on have told you flat out, all right, this guy's getting banned, he's an idiot. Why do you think everyone thinks in a binary trap? Most here do. If you didn't, I wouldn't have to explain it again and again and again and again to people. So, Captain Radio says, I'm so confused. I really thought that probability was stacked the other way. I watched too much Tim Pool. I don't know who Tim Pool is. I think he's the guy who wears the knit cap. I pay no attention to him. And if he thinks that, look, all you need to do is pay attention to how people act. Okay, we're getting rid of this Spurg here. Not everything is probability. The statement, yeah, go away, Spurg. I don't like Spurgs, okay? No gammas, no Spurgs. Just go away. Anyhow, the point is that somebody like a Tim Pool or whatever, they know nothing about the political system. They know nothing about the rules. They know nothing about the constitutional law and so forth. That's not an insult. That's just a fact. Okay? And so, unless you happen to be well acquainted with constitutional lawyers and so forth, there's no point in even trying to express an opinion. Your opinion doesn't count. Your opinion doesn't matter. Not that my opinion matters either. I guess a better way to say it is that the information that you have and that you're passing on is inaccurate. And so, so if you, anyhow, it's just, all I'm trying to convince you of is just be patient and wait. The battle is being fought. And so someone is going to win. And it's very, very tiresome listening to people trying to claim that they know on the basis of their feelings. They don't. Your feelings aren't going to settle this. How will Trump get past the House certification on the 6th? There's many different ways. Yeah, it's again, stop worrying about this stuff. 99% of you didn't know anything about the House certification before 2 months ago. Okay? Probably none of you who don't read Alexander McCree are aware that the certification process is way looser and has historically operated in a way that would cause the media to scream and shriek and protest if things worked out that way in 2020. So, I mean, I get the impulse to want to understand what's going on and think that that understanding will give you a better grasp on what's happening. It won't, because there are too many possibilities. Trump has about 10 or 15 different ways to win. And that's why there's no point in trying to say, well, he has to do something by this date. I mean, think about how many dates where Trump supposedly had to do something by, or it was all over, that have already passed. You know, the only date that probably matters a lot is January 20th. Not necessarily, but probably. And apparently January 6th could be significant because the president himself has stated as much. He has told us January 6th is going to be wild. What does that mean? We don't know. But we're going to find out in a couple days. I plan to stream that night, and maybe we'll find out together. We'll see what's going on. The body language of the left indicates fear and anxiety. The President of the United States, meanwhile, exudes confidence and resolve. No contest. The second term is imminent. Exactly. That's the kind of stuff that you personally are capable of grasping. You're not an expert in all the different possibilities, and you don't even know all the stuff that's going on. But what you can see is you can see how Joe Biden is acting, to the extent that you can see him at all. You can see these anomalies. Why hasn't Kamala Harris resigned from the Senate? Why are the Democrats talking about trying to amend the Constitution in 17 days? Why are Trump's lieutenants, Flynn, Pompeo, etc., why are they calmly assuring you that he's absolutely going to win? So if you put all of the things that you're observing together, if you simply pay attention to everything that's going on, then there's no reason not to be confident. Does that mean that you can be certain? No, of course not. I just said there's no certainties in life. But there is reason to be confident. Carolina Swamp Fox says 20 dara from South Carolina. Practicing my Chinaman talk. Dude, I think the time for getting bribes from China is probably past. I think you missed your opportunity. Certainly the Georgia politicians appear to have all taken quite a few, but I don't think they're going to be happy about that soon. Fernando Covet says, my great-grandfather was besieged in a chapel as a political prisoner for 3 weeks until the new president's army came to liberate them in 1930. That's why you don't give up. That's why you don't surrender. That's why you don't just despair. We always have hope. Lawnmower Bear is correct. It's a Spanish Tempranillo in the barrel. It is indeed. So, what do you think is going to happen on the 6th? I don't know. I think that something will happen on the 6th that will lead the I think something will happen on the 6th that will break the mainstream narrative that Biden is the president-elect. What exactly that is, I don't know. Whether it will actually be the breaking of the storm and we're going to start seeing some arrests announced, or we're going to see something really crazy like Jeffrey Epstein being produced and denouncing Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts. I'm a little skeptical that it's going to be something of that sort. But what it will be, I don't know. I just expect that it will be something, considering how the left is panicking and the right is getting excited for something. And the president is telling people that it's going to be wild. You know, I mean, what more warning do you need? Do you lean towards Pelosi hate crime as another fake hate show? Yes, of course. All those hate crimes are fake. There are virtually no actual hate crimes. You know, if you see a hate crime like that, I mean, I thought it was really funny. There was another hate crime directed at somebody else out in California, and you could see that it was the exact same painting. So it's the same style of the font. So it's kind of crazy, but Serrano ham whole leg with stand would fit perfectly next to the wine barrel. Funny you should say that. Maybe I'll break it out next time I stream. It was the best handwritten graffiti I'd seen in a while. Yeah, exactly. You could actually read it. Let's see here. Okay, so anyhow, but let's move on to the next subject. So we've talked about what's coming with the president and so forth. Jason asks, was Pompeo's governor's convention speech back in February 2020 their last chance to come forward? No, I mean, I think that Trump is asking them to come forward now. He's not a cruel man. He's not a vindictive man. He wants people to come forward and confess and be forgiven. He's very much a Christian in that way. That's quite obvious and quite apparent. But anyhow, what I want to talk about is, thank you, Michael, very kind. I want to talk a bit about a television show. It's called The Boys. It's on Amazon. It's based on a absolutely incredibly violent comic by Garth Ennis, who recently did a run on The Punisher for Marvel, I believe. And I was watching it because people had been saying that The Boys comic was the one that reminded them most of Alt Hero. And so because I finished writing the Rebels Run script with Chuck Dixon about 2 months ago. I wanted to get a better understanding of how the transition from the comics to the television screen went. And it was really interesting to see. I mean, this was one of the very, very few television shows or movies that I've seen where the television show / movie is actually much better than the comics. And so it was really interesting. I mean, yeah, I can understand it. It's very violent. It's very SJW, etc., etc. But first of all, it's useful for me. Murdoch, you're missing the point. It's actually very much like Alt Hero in the deeper context. It's highly political. It's very much using superheroes to comment on the real world, etc., etc. But, I mean, yes, it's very different from the graphic violence and the sex stuff, but that's just Chrome. And so, but what I found interesting, and this is something that I think that we should be pleased about, is that what it told me more than anything else is that the left, the Prometheans, Hollywood, etc., are freaking terrified of us. They are absolutely terrified of us. And what they've done, with Homelander and Stormfront, and of course, it all goes back to Nazis again. But it was really interesting to see the way that they tried to visually portray the way in which the words and ideas that are coming from people like me, people like AC, people like Milo, people like Cerno, people like Trump, etc. The whole thing comes down to our words are magic too. Remember, they're trying to magic unreality into existence. And they don't understand the truth. They don't understand how truth works because they're the people of the lie. But they believe that our words are magic too. They believe that truth is just a competing spell. And they believe that it is as powerful as their spells. And so it's really intriguing and to me very encouraging to see the way that they are so observably frightened by us. And they try to salvage words like SJW. They try to remanipulate words like cuck and do the same thing. You return it to the meaning that was focused on sexual absurdities and so forth. Much like the cucks, the neoconservatives, the cuckservatives themselves did when they first found themselves getting hit by it. There was a movement to reclaim the C word, exactly. And The Boys actually includes an element of that. But it doesn't work. And it won't work. And the thing is that they try, even when they try to mock things like Christian movements, or when they try to mock things like Scientology, in doing so, they tacitly admit to the power of those things. And so I found it really fascinating and frankly inspiring. I mean, I think that Alt Hero and Alt Hero Q and Midnight's War, the comics that I'm involved writing, are going to become better than they have been because of this understanding that I've got on the basis of how they fear our rhetoric. They have to make, they can only win. Actually, here's what's interesting. They can barely win when they write the script. That's how bad they are. Even when they're stacking the deck and using all the power of visual rhetoric and everything else, and they're even trying to make fun of some of their own SJW tendencies. I mean, I will say that their whole plan to capitalize on Queen Maeve's bisexuality and turn her into Brave Maeve, a the bravest lesbian in all the land, and how that just goes horribly wrong, is hilarious. It's really hilarious. And it is, again, a tacit admission of their own lack of truth. And no, truth is not only what you can perceive. That's absolutely wrong. The fact that you can only perceive small elements of the truth does not depend upon your perception. You are not the measure of all things. And so, it's really interesting to me to see some genuine observational and writing talent in the service of the lie, because elements of the truth continue to leak out. It's interesting to see what they can't lie about. And so, and here's another reason that they fear us, because we are better at this stuff than they are. But keep in mind, I want to show you something here. We made an announcement about some of Arkhaven's coming plans. You're going to see, I'm not going to tell you the exact time frame yet, but it's going to be in the spring. And I think that it's going to be, much more powerful than anybody anticipates yet. But what's interesting is that 2 years ago when we first started, everybody was getting on my case because, oh, well, you have no comics experience. How can you write comics? How can you, the art is terrible, blah, 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 blah. Well, now what's interesting is that DC is very publicly melting down. DC Comics is heading for their third layoff in the last year. They've already cut their number of new products from 62 down to officially 39, possibly a little bit less. What a lot of people don't realize is that Marvel is actually collapsing even faster. Marvel has actually their production has actually declined 5.6% more than DC. So here's what's coming up from us when we launch in the spring. All of this stuff is going to be digital. All of this stuff is going to be free. And let's see here. Let's get rid of this person. So this is Alt Hero Q. I'm just showing this to let people know that we're planning to have all the Alt Heroes, all the Alt Hero Qs, all the Chuck Dixon's Avalon, etc. done before we launch. We're not going to all put them all out. Murdoch says, I remember what Vox said at the time. The art when Quantum Mortis was first published is the worst it will ever be, and things will improve over time. Yeah, so this is one thing. Now, another thing that I've promised people, you may recall, is a Throne of Bones. And we haven't been releasing anything. We're going to release everything when the time is right, not unlike Trump. So this is the cover of A Throne of Bones #1. And obviously, we're not doing all of a 900-page novel in 6 comics. But what we're doing is we're doing a single battle, and then we're also going to do Opera Vita Aeterna and the War Dog's Coin. So now keep in mind, this art is coming from a company that was supposedly going to be unable to do this. And then this is another artist. This, you may recognize the name Swan Knight Saga, The 13th Hour. This is, of course, the comic based on John C. Wright's The Green Knight Squire. And it's really good. This one is actually not going to be color. This one's black and white, and it looks really fantastic. I mean, it's it's really, I think, coming along nicely. But anyhow, but what's really going to blow people's minds is that what we're going to be releasing this on is going to be a brand new platform, entirely our own. And like I've said today, the amount of content that is going to be coming out, the amount of content that's going to be coming out on a monthly basis is approaching 50% of that produced by DC. We haven't been sitting around doing nothing. There's a whole team, a whole Archaven team that is totally unrelated to the... I'm the only common factor between the unauthorized team and the Archaven team. Two totally different teams, totally different servers, everything different. That's another reason why we put such fear into the other side, because they can't even imagine doing this, not even with all the resources they have. And so this is why we have hope. Poster Child said, even Chuck Dixon has gotten pretty quiet. Chuck Dixon is crushing. I talked to the legend just 2 days ago. He is not only fully aware of this and fully on board with this, he's the turbo on the engine. Not only that, but we also have, doubled our entire product line, because we now have a partnership with a company in Brazil, which is, speaking of Chuck Dixon, very, very Chuck Dixon influenced. And we're going to be introducing their comics, The Hammer of Freedom, The Awakener, and a number of others, Lieutenant Bravo. We're going to be introducing them to the English language for the first time. And so, I'm very excited, I'm very confident, and I'm very appreciative of the enthusiasm that people have for this. I mean, we're able to do this because people like you give us the ability to do so. Now right now, the subscriptions on Archaven and stuff are very small, very low. We're going to want to build that up when we launch. But there's we'll make the pitch at the appropriate time. All I'm doing right now is letting you know what's going on. There's been a couple of questions about A Sea of Skulls. I'm about 75,000 words away from finishing it, so it's about 3/4 done. I don't think you'll be disappointed in the least. What I've written in there, I think is equivalent to or better than the previous stuff, and that's not just according to me. So it's a little bit of a struggle, I'll admit, just because there's so many different cultures now, whereas A Throne of Bones was predominantly rooted in both Amoran and Savandy's culture, delving deeper into elven culture, dwarf culture, and orc culture all at the same time, and actually making all of them as credible is difficult. Ukrainian Bear says, "Hi Vox, Jesus said that when he returns, many will come to him saying that they performed many miracles and signs in his name, but he will tell them that he didn't know them. Do you think they did those things, and if so, how?" Well, presumably that they did, but maybe it's because they did them for themselves. I don't know. Yeah. It's always interesting to me that gammas will like actually sit and watch somebody like me for an hour, someone that they hate, and just can't resist, can't resist taking their little shots. Strange. Just got my first 3 of the Junior Classics. My daughter loves them. She already finished the Riddle of the Sphinx. Thank you, Vox. Thank you, Joel. I'm delighted that you got them. Also, for those of you who have asked, yes, they will be available through general distribution soon. We need to finish the shipment to the backers. We've got about 300 more to ship out. Probably 5 or 6 people had problems with their shipments. We're getting those things taken care of. Once we get all of the original backer editions sent out, then we can make the modification and get them into distribution. However, there is a slight, Ingram's having a slight problem with their revision process, so we need to get them to fix that first too. Let's see. Do you guys have an email for comics to send you their work? Well, we're going to be, the platform that we're going to be introducing is going to be an open platform. So once we introduce it, if he wants to get his stuff on there, have him get in touch. We've already got 2, since I announced it this morning, we already had 2 independent creators contact us and ask us if they could participate. One of them I think we will, the other one we probably won't. Neither I don't think will be there for launch, but frankly we don't need it. We're going to have so much content up there. People are going to be surprised, I think. Smaller, no, the demis haven't shipped yet. So, are you looking for more grunt work volunteers? There's a handful of us so far. Well, right now I think we've got 6 or 7, and that should be enough to keep up with the stuff for now. We'll see how many of them actually work out. But yeah, I mean, if there's people who love comics, who don't mind tedious, repetitive work, and want to and you have Photoshop already and know how to use it, we welcome volunteers. But we're just getting going now. I mean, I actually today did 3 episodes myself, just so that the development team would have them to use, for testing. And also, in order, I can't tell the technical guys what to do if I don't fully understand the process. So, it's helpful for me to sit down and do those things. How's the lawsuits going? Well, we're going to find out. January 20th is going to is when Judge Schulman should be deciding whether he's going to throw out Patreon's case or not. So we'll find out. And I think that the next 2 weeks are going to be very interesting on the legal front as well as on the political front. The next Castalia Library book is Heidi. So Summa Helvetica just finished up, then Heidi, and then Aristotle's Rhetoric. So, well, that's all we've got time for tonight. So thank you for tuning in. Have confidence. Jason says he knows an amazing artist. What should I tell him to just wait, don't tell him anything. Wait till it comes out, and then tell him if he wants to get involved, he can. So, but that's all I've got for tonight. So have a good evening. Look forward to January 6th. We're told it's going to be wild, and let's hope that President Trump follows through with a flawless fatality. I'm Vox Day. This is the Darkstream.